Hello, this is Astro Breeze. Welcome to our weekly astrological updates, our astrology weather. And we have a few important things this week. Kickoff week, I would say, probably ooh, coming into like the second most powerful week of the year. Few things happening, and we just got to back up a day because we had the full moon yesterday. You can see that they're still separating. We have the sun in Cancer, moon is still in Capricorn. It is, of course, a day past. So we had that full moon. Full moon's a culmination. It is in Capricorn, so it's like putting some substance to things you've been working on. Now we have to just test that while the moon is waning, those things that we put into place and get ready for our Mercury retrograde, which happened just after. So now Mercury is retrograde, which gives us a testing period, really. It's a chance to review, reassess, reevaluate, go over and test a lot of those things that we put into place. So I circled Mercury here because this is a key player this week. It is beginning its retrograde cycle in Cancer. I'll go unpack this all in a minute. I just want to highlight this and show you a few things. And then we have something really big. I think probably the one of the loudest things that will happen near the on the 3rd of July. We have Mars approaching Uranus in Gemini. You can see Mars just a day ago. It's at 1 degree. It just went into Gemini and it's on its way to contact Uranus, which we'll talk about shortly. Um, there's something else. Oh yeah, and then today, yeah, big planet of Jupiter just moved into Leo, so it's on its way to get deep and further into Leo. And then we have both not only the big planet here, Jupiter, but we also have Venus on their way to meet up with the South Node. They won't happen this week, but their Venus will be close, and then Jupiter later. But similar themes. All right, now this outer planet triad we've been talking about here. We had the Pluto making a trine over here to Uranus, right? We have its air sign and air sign, so air is trine. And then in between is Neptune making a sextile to either way. So you can say, really, Neptune is at the midpoint, halfway point between Pluto and Uranus. So it's 60 degrees on the one side and 60-degree on the other, and that would be 120 between the two. So if we were to, count that, there, where that we have that trine in place, which is a fire trine, and then now that in a few days, Jupiter, well, I know maybe a week or so, Jupiter, once it hits the 4 degrees um, spot, it will be exactly with all of these other planets at 4 degrees. Uranus is almost there too. So it will click into 4 degrees. Jupiter will move to 4 degrees and it'll just click. But it's like in place now, especially today, we're going to get different feel and flavor of that Jupiter now into Leo, was in Cancer. But we're trading kind of, I don't know if we're going to notice it as much until it gets a little closer and this whole pattern clicks in because we are in Cancer season. So the sun is there. So it's not like a really definite feeling. Plus Mercury's there. Mercury, we have the whole mind and moving into the heart. Okay, but we'll talk about that just a second. So I'm going to leave this here for a second so we can look at this. But there's a few things that I definitely wanted to show you or point out to you. So basically, we got Mercury. Let me back up here. I talked about the cradle. So let's talk about where Mercury is now just turning retrograde. It's retrograde in Cancer, right? So we have Mercury, the mind, into Cancer, the feel. So we're kind of like swimming through our emotional bodies to find our family stories. I would say that might be a good overview. Mars is coming together with Uranus in Gemini. It's sending light through our nervous system. It's like, light in conversations. And Venus is already like about halfway through Leo, almost there, setting up the longer love and self-worth journey. Venus, love, money, and Leo, self-worth, drama, coming from the heart, being real. So Venus is there. So I want to talk about this just a little bit because Venus is going to do the retrograde this year in Scorpio, and every 8 years, Venus re, Venus's retrograde is the same place and sign that it was 8 years ago. So look back. So we're having it at 2026. So look back, like let's see, we have Venus retrograde. We want to look back 2018, right around in there, 2010, 2002. Look back at those periods of time and what or the one before that be what 96, 96, 1996. All right, so do math in my head. All right, so 2026, 2018, 2010, 2002, 1996. Right? 96, 4, 5, 6, no, 98, 94. Sorry. 1994 would be 6, yeah, 7, 8. Okay. 1994. So look back at those years and just kind of notice what was going on for you. Um, it's like usually some kind of issues, that's when the Venus retrograded in Scorpio. That's its fall. Venus does not like to be there. It's very interesting. And it's like usually some kind of poignant love or money issues. All right, that's definitely just something to kind of think about. Um, the reason I'm really mentioning that now is because Venus is going through Leo of the heart. It's like bringing back some of those things. And Venus now it's going to move into Virgo this month. I think like less than 2 weeks. So it's going to go into Virgo, and then it's going to move into Libra. And then as it moves into Libra, that is going to begin its shadow place. So it will start in Libra, it'll move into Scorpio, and then it'll retrograde back through Scorpio, where it was, and then back into Libra. Okay, that's why I'm saying it's its shadow. And then it will go direct, and then it will go finish going through that part of Libra again, go back over that spot of Scorpio again, and then finally move out of Scorpio. But see, I'm saying this now because Venus, if I looked at my ephemeris right, I think it hits the retrograde or the place where its shadow is. I think it's like 26. I don't have that note in front of me. I'm sorry, but we'll go through it as it gets closer. It's late Libra, like 26 Libra. It's like in August 31st, and then it doesn't finally get out of Scorpio. I mean, it goes back. It starts there because that's its shadow. So you're gonna have to start noticing around August what's going on in your life. September and August, because then it's going to retrograde back and it's going to go over those same issues. So this is a love and money issues. So starting around the end, let's just say September 1st. So September will be it's things that are going on there. Those things are going to repeat. Is why I'm telling you this now. So we're in the pre-shadow time to kind of align things, align love, align money, align those things, because it's a long retrograde. I mean, it's a long period. It won't move out of Scorpio until like the second week of January. So what I'm saying, these are some deep issues going on, and even though it's an inner planet, it gets a retrograde, and it's in a retrograde spot where it doesn't like to be. So kind of put those things in order. Anyway, that's going on, and I will talk about that more in the future, but I want to give you this little bit of an overview of what we got going on. So right now, Sun in Cancer keeps, everyone close to their emotional skin, family, old attachments, question about home, things of the home, and safety are pretty loud at this time. Um, yeah, okay, we talked about that. Okay, so one other thing, oh yeah, I was going to mention that we also have coming in, we have Sun in Cancer, right? We just, that whole Sun in Cancer emotionalness is going to square Saturn in Aries. So that is going to be a little bit of pressure to take responsibility for our impulses or our anger or grow up in how we initiate and assert ourselves. Squares are, like I want to protect and hide, but I'm being asked to step up here. Or the edges around the leadership in my family, or emotional boundaries with people that I care about. That's probably the biggest one. I'd say, almost all the time. But when we get emotional things coming up against, emotional Cancerian things coming up against let's get her done, trim the fat Aries things. It's, emotional boundaries with people we care about. Tension between needing rest and feeling the grind or obligation. Saturn, Cancer and Saturn. So if you feel a bit exhausted with it, it's not that might going to happen. It's a lot to process, definitely, and it's going to be more if you have things at those degrees. All right, so let's unpack the Mercury retrograde over here. Let me get rid of some of this so I can flip through some pages. Not that you really need to see it, but this that way the stuff won't fly around. Okay. So Mercury is in Mercury, rest you could see when I go back. Yep, yep. What do I have it? There we go. So right here, it's like earlier today, I've got my ephemeris has it as retrograding. So 26 degrees of Cancer retrograde. It's going to go back. Um, and then let's see what I wanted to take tomorrow. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about Mercury retrograde in Cancer. So it's late Cancer, right? So it's going to be moving back toward the sun. So the mind is inside the emotional body right now. The mind, Mercury in Cancer inside the emotional body things might be stirred up about all kinds of stuff, your emotions about you, your family, things in your family, about your family, what you did with your family, what your family did to you, all those types of things. And it's like people are thinking in loops now, like loops about the family, safety, family, belonging, emotional history. Communication can be a bit sticky and indirect. It's like a tendency to pull back. You don't want to say too much. You might sulk or hint, or people might hint instead of saying things directly. That's that little, Mercury in Cancer doesn't want to say it too much. Also, like old conversations with parents, children, family, maybe coming up for replay because now Mercury's retrograde. So sometimes different characters, but they're playing the same script. So watch for that. If people aren't there, people like them will resonate those things for you that need to be redone. So a lot of it is, old stories coming back to be recoded, reworked, and they'll only haunt you if you don't. Yeah, really. So, also time to like slow down text, slow down emails. There might be more things about family, about emotional issues, um, hiccups around the home, caring themes, caring around the home, caring for people. That's all the stuff that's going to be coming up during this next 3 weeks. Okay, that we had here. So it's kind of like just a whole week now. You can see it's tomorrow. And then as we get on the second and third, you could see that Mars is like right there up Uranus's butt there. And then on the third it's like a bit more exact. We're just like minutes away. And then by the fourth, it will be just past that. Okay, well, let's unpack this a little bit before we go more into astrology. I mean, this is astrology, but I want to talk a little bit about cycles and the cycle that Mars and Uranus has. Okay, they are conjunct. They're going to conjunct in a few days. And anytime it's like, you think Gemini is benign, but having those two characters there and Uranus too, when Uranus is in Gemini, things get violent. There's violent things that happen in the world and have happened throughout history when it's in that sign, when Uranus is in Gemini. And then when Mars is with it, it has a history as well. So I'm going to give you just 4 points of things, and we're going to say when they're conjunct, that means when they're together. So when Mars and Uranus are conjunct, which they are going to be in a couple days, that means they occupy the same degree. You can see it's like 3 degrees Gemini. Then there'll be parts of history when they are square, okay, when they'll be 90 degrees apart. Then there'll be times of history, and then this happens all the time. It goes round and round. When they are opposite, okay, so I'm going to give you three things when they were together, when they're square, and when they're opposite. So a couple things. Let's just start when they were together. In the spring to summer of 1776, they were both, Uranus and Mars were both in Gemini. And the signing of the Declaration of Independence happened a few weeks after that. conjunction. Oh, what a coincidence, right? Hmm. Um, August 6th, 1945, um, when US dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Mars, destruction, Uranus, technology, uranium, they were in a wide conjunction in the second, well, anyway, decan of Gemini, but they were still conjunct, not as close as like they were here. But by the time the photographer or the photographs of the mushroom cloud made it to the newsstands a few days later, we're just talking about days, the conjunction became exact. So anyway, it's exact. All right. So this is like this is kind of the stuff that got the hairs, me on the kind of pins and needles coming into this the next few days. Um, when they were square, um, let's see, there was one square when they were in 1947. Um, both India and Palestine were partitioned by the British. Let's see, they were the splitting. They post World War II, Uranus and Gemini was kind of the splitting of all nations, right? And then redrawing borders, all the splitting and redrawing of borders in Europe. It's kind of seeing that again. What else happened there? There was also, see, in 1903, another time this we had the Wright brothers have their first flight, and then we also had another square was the January 6th of 2021, the at the Capitol, the unrest there, the January 6th day, Mars Uranus square. Okay, another one, and then let's get to the opposition. 1962, the Mars Uranus had an opposition. We had the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? And we had, that potential hair trigger nuclear annihilation event, right? Ooh. 2003, there was another Mars Uranus conjunction, and then we had the beginning of the Iraq War. Hmm? Yeah. And then a few weeks after that, um, in Europe in 2003, had their biggest electrical grid failure in modern history. Yeah, plunging 50 million people into darkness. Uh-huh. Yep. Makes me nervous. So we could see that these two planets, there's when they get together, either in a conjunction, a square, in opposition, there's conflicts, explosions, electricity, or power are all recurring types of themes. So, we've got that coming up for us this year in a few days. It's hot. It's hotter than normal. Um, Gemini also, governs communications, media, data networks, data centers, right? What do we got going on with these data centers being built? Hot topics. So, ever expanding digital control grid, right? Um, and hundreds of data centers under construction. So we have lots and lots of that. Lots and lots of that. Not a good thing. So yeah, this is definitely coming up in a few days. It's like in orb now, as we get, it's here on Tuesday, it's at 1 degree, tomorrow 2 degrees, and then we're just right into this 3 degrees here. Very, 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 very volatile. Also, the energy becomes more wired. I mean, it's a good thing. I don't want to rag on just potential doom and gloom things, but this is one of those things that you want to make sure that you pay attention to. Let's just put it that way. But there's a lot of mental electricity, but also people's tempers get quick. Their tongues get sharp. I mean, we can say, quick, mean things. Stop it, leave me alone. Just those blah, blah kind of things. Impulsive texts. Make sure that, after you type something, don't hit the send button just yet. You might just close your screen for a minute or take a few deep breaths, reword it. Really, just take that little bit of time to do that. Also, there's sudden news, there's tech glitches, there's scrambled schedules. Also, flashes of insight. You can get, it's if you stay grounded. It's important to understand grounding. Go to earthing.com and read that, or get that book, Earthing, or the movie, Earthing. Learn about grounding, grounding sheets, grounding pads, grounding yourself, grounding shoes. This is really important now as we're getting more highly wired. It's really, really important to stay grounded. You might want to make sure that you're grounding more things. Maybe you're using fiber optic cables instead of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Being grounded, having Ethernet cables. I think smart people are moving away from all of the wireless and getting back to the good wired, understanding how to do that. But anyway, people talk faster, think faster, and get bored faster. There's also a more of a drive to learn, also to scroll and debate. That's all kind of Gemini stuff. And then getting angst up. Um, Also, anxiety could spike. So make sure you maybe, you know, having things like lemon balm, valerian root, passion flower, taking enough magnesium, Epsom salt baths, quiet baths with candlelight. You want quiet, dark yin because we have all this fire and air. It's like too much heat and sun and dry wind coming on. What else do I want to tell you about with this? It's like, okay, pure voltage to the mental field and the nervous system, so you can really get things going, but it could fry your wires, so to speak, fry your synapses. Make sure you're also eating good, healthy fats to keep your nerves and nervous system um, running well, because you're going to be running your nervous system more so. So healthy fats. I don't want to get into a lot of that, but that's important to make sure that that's in place. Sudden decisions, arguments, outbursts, breakthroughs with words. Also, cutting old ties, old ways of thinking, old mental habits, old patterns of keeping quiet to keep the peace. All of this stuff is going to come up. And then if you're rushing or distracted, that's when you could get, accidents happen too. Well, let's see anything else with them. Oh, yeah, we talked about grounded. Okay. Now, Jupiter's at the beginning of its time in Leo. We can see it just moved into Leo right here, and it's this 0 degrees. It's really, it's like Venus was just there, and in Leo, and in that Leo, it's like a puff up to be seen, a puff. You want to just in a good way. You want to put energy on things in of the heart, make that bigger. It's a hunger to be seen who as we really are, not the facade. This is our true self. And you want to see people as that too, their true self. And you want to get close to that, or you want to get the hell away from that? Is that, oh, that's the true self. Oh, okay. Anyway, a wave of creativity, performance, play, self-expression. Old wounds might come up around being too much or not enough in the spotlight. Oh, you're just putting on too much, or you're just too diminished. You're just not enough. It's like it's going to be this extreme. So this is a good time, again, for Mercury retrogrades. We don't want to do big things, but it's like soft launches or showing work in progress or sharing stories, maybe reconnecting to some kind of art. Um, yeah. All right. Let's see. So Mars is also busy this week. Okay, so we had Mars moving to Gemini. Now, Mars is also part of this cradle. Let me do that and draw it again. Oh, I'll just do it with this. Okay, so we have this, let's do it here, right? We have this cradle, and I'll get into that just more in a second. But what we have here, see, it's almost 4 degrees, and look at they're both at 3. So Mars is here conjuncting Uranus as Jupiter is getting closer to making this. See, Jupiter's at 0, so it's not quite there yet. This is close. But I mean, it's so close, and it's a big planet. It's like close enough, right? But anyway, Mars is here first. I mean, it's in with Jupiter. I mean, in with Uranus, making this pattern. Okay, so the whole pattern. Let's look at Pluto first. Pluto in Aquarius. This is like a deep restructuring of community, technology, the hive mind, and like who holds power in groups. And I think that is really coming up. We're all understanding the term the globalists. We're all understanding that these people who think that they're so wealthy, they have so much money, they're so removed from the masses that the masses just, and these elites cannot exist anymore together. There's something that's happening. There's transforming community. This technology is a double-edged sword. It's letting us see things, but it's also starting to rule the roost. Anyway, power in groups is happening. Um, control dynamics, outside feelings, and the urge to find like your our true tribe. That's hard to say. True tribe. All right. Next one, Neptune in early Aries. It's Neptune in Aries. Okay, Neptune is dissolving, and Aries is like um, being more courageous. So maybe dissolving old identities, inviting a more spiritually honest, courageous I am. Um, yeah, yeah. What else do I have on that one? Let's see. I got a few things here. Yeah, that's probably pretty good. I like the way it's dissolving old identities. That's the easiest way to think about it. And then Uranus and early Gemini, shocks and awakenings through information, language, learning, networks, and nervous system in the conduit. And then with Mars there, it's just adding energy to that. All right. Then as Jupiter is in early Leo, heading to that 4 degrees, it's going to be putting more emphasis on the heart, on visibility, on creative self-expression, on saying your truth even before it gets all the way, we've got this. It's like our a new myth is being written, kind of. It's like we're in a opening chapter of a new long story. So think about it this way, maybe Pluto in Aquarius is rewiring our shared worlds, us in them. Neptune in Aries is dissolving the false masks. I mean, we're seeing all of this stuff come down. We're seeing, we're seeing through the curtain. The curtain, Toto is pulling the curtain back. We're seeing the man, the great and powerful Oz is a little skinny guy working some technology, right? So it's dissolving the false masks. Uranus and Gemini is electricity, the nervous system, the airwaves. And then Jupiter going into Leo is like, it's asking us, what would it look like if our heart led all of this? So it kind of translates into like you may be pressured to update who you are, how you speak, where you belong, almost all at once. It's like even though these slow planets are at tiny degrees, it's not a passing mood. They're like holding this pattern. They're setting up a decade's worth of themes right now. And because they're clustered in the same area of the zodiac right now, the next couple of weeks kind of feel like a preview trailer. So I think. What else was I going to tell you about? Let's see. Let's get rid of this. Um, One more thing we're heading to, and you can see it here. Venus, well, actually a couple things, but we'll go with this one. Venus is going toward the south node, and then of course Jupiter will head toward that too. So we're going to have a nodal, the nodes will change. The nodes, it's here, it's at 2 degrees, and it's going to, nodes move backwards. So it's going to be at 29 Leo real soon. Yeah, let's just go ahead here. And then Venus is moving there. Oh, this is just, it's not showing the true node. Anyway, I'll do it one day. They're gonna meet up. They're gonna meet up there, and then what I want you to know about that is Venus moves. Okay, so we have there's like a karmic release around love and performance. It's like the South Node is where we're clearing and composting. Venus's values, relationship, pleasure, money, beauty, self-worth. So we're having to put a bit of focus and clearing on what that is. And then as we get over there, we gotta kind of, I like this part. It's like it's asking that you give up the costume that's gotten between your heart and the people who actually meet it. Give up the costume. So, give you a little example to think through this next week. Imagine that you're in a lighthouse. The base is the nervous system, and that's like the Mars and Gemini, right? It's just like wiring you up. And then the light is your heart, your creative self. Jupiter and Venus both are in Leo, so they're putting that big attention on coming from your heart. I mean, this is what we should do anyway, but sometimes it's easier than others. And since we have Mercury kind of muted, it's in Cancer, it can be easier to maybe come from our hearts. And the water below is our old safety, the sun in Cancer. Um, and then we also have, the Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, and then the Pluto and Aquarius. That's our old safety and our belonging pattern. So our job is really to see, keep our base steady with enough that the light can keep turning. Um, I think that's all. Is there anything else I want to tell you about this week? It's like I don't want to get too confusing. Those are the big things that we really have going on. The Mars is Mars. I guess I'd talk just a little bit about that. As Mars is going through, let's go back. I'm not going to go through there too fast. But as Mars comes into here, and I'll hit more on it, into this area, it's going to be making sextiles. Here, let me just do this one more thing for you. We'll do this one. Okay, so Mars will also be making, okay, so we already talked about it with here with Uranus, but Mars is going to be making a sextile, excuse me, over to Neptune. And this could be a little bit of maybe confusion about how you feel, about confusion about splitting, it's like things are going to be in Gemini, it's like things want to take two paths. So there could be a little confusion about that, about what path to take. And then also Mars will be trining over here to Pluto. So it's going to get energy to go deep, energy to renew. It's just definitely a rebirth. So a bit of getting to the bottom of things, looking at how you relate to groups, where your power in groups are. And then also looks like a big arrow here. Um, is Mars sextiles over to Jupiter, it's going to get help there from to bringing that stuff out from the heart, bringing things maybe from the head to the heart, or speaking through the heart, learning to speak through the heart, not just speak out through the mouth. I think this time period might be aligning us to feel the feelings before the mouth gets engaged. Um, so Mars is definitely a key player this week with with bringing a lot of things in. Again, it's going to be right here. It's coming right up against Uranus, so we have that electricity. We have its dream ability when it comes over to um, Uranus. Oh God, I'm sorry. Do. Can't do two things at once. It's going to have that little dream or confusion as it comes over to Neptune. It's going to get the big dream, maybe the big aha, as it lines up with Jupiter. So we got a lot of stuff invested in this energy. It's energy. It's where do you want to put your energy? Who do you want to put your energy and time with? Do you really want to take time to bitch and yell and scream and to make a big deal? Or do you want to save that energy and put it into something that's forward moving and positive? I think these are some of the decisions. Where do you want to do with your energy? Where do you want it to go? Who do you want it to go with? These are the big themes of this week. So that being said, um, have a safe week. Just kind of watch things. Don't do anything. I mean, we've got fireworks. This is like totally the wrong thing to do on this day. Just be careful of all that. Be careful and watch others. People get really stupid with different things. And yeah, safety is to be watched and to looked at. So anyway, the adult in you, I would just make sure that you're out. You're watching kids, other people's kids, because they're not going to be watching things, and just kind of keep an eye on stuff. Just be, that kind of Boy Scout, Girl Scout consciousness. All right, have a safe and a lovely week. Happy 4th of July, or happy first of the week of July, and more to follow. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.